Kongversation.
The fugitive ape army is parachuting into the jungle to hunt me down. I've got to outwit and outlast them. They drew first blood, not me.
David? David, are you out there?
Yeah. Hi.
Oh, thank God. Welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm David Thomas Lynch.
Yes, the Thomas is important, otherwise...
Yeah, otherwise you'd be... Yeah.
Twin
jokes
Peaks.
about Twin Peaks that I don't get.
Yeah, and Twin Peaks, the Return, and then there's Blue Velvet, and yeah, so you had the Thomas, so you cut me off at the pass there. So this is the much delayed call sack episode, first call sack of season 6. David, do you want to tell them why it was delayed so long?
Well, it's because there was a blizzard around this area, and which knocked out my internet for like 4 days or something like that.
Did you descend into cannibalism? Because I would have gone full Donner Party 4 days without the internet.
No, I just used my phone.
Okay, well, like when I went on my honeymoon, even that was hard going without the internet, because I was in the Dominican Republic, and you know, beautiful country, beautiful beaches, jungles, and even then I was just like getting twitchy around the end of day 2. I needed my fix. I needed to just hop on, I don't know. I needed to see what crazy bullshit Trump was saying, and I couldn't do it. And luckily, I had scheduled all the Facebook posts on the DK Vine Facebook page in advance, because I care about you people. I care, even on my honeymoon. So yeah, you were without the internet for a long time, and so we kept delaying this episode. And a lot has happened since the last conversation, David. And
what did I miss?
Well, for starters, this is what we knew about. Sea of Thieves is coming out next week, March 20th, first day of spring in the Northern Hemisphere. And that was going to be like the big event of the next 2 months or so. You know, nothing else is really supposed to be happening in the news sphere. So I was like, oh, this is great, you know. It's hard enough to keep up with Sea of Thieves news because there's so much going on as far as like Sea of Thieves merchandise and promotional events. And I mean, Microsoft is really investing a lot of money into this. And it's a little disconcerting as a fan of Rare in the Donkey Kong universe, because I'm not used to either one getting this much attention.
Well, we all know there are good people left in 2002, so...
Of course. And I don't think anybody's told Phil Spencer that, but... It's hard to even like buy everything, because ordinarily when it comes to merchandise, I'm right on top of everything. They release a new Donkey Kong figure, I got it, boom, right away, you know? Because there's not a lot of stuff. There's, you know, off-brand.
They don't make like Mr. Pants. I mean,
that's something we're gonna have to look into because we're, you know, in the preliminary stages of figuring out our merchandise store that will be opening up on DK Vine post-site remodel that we are actually getting very close to finishing. Matt Corna is doing a wonderful job on that. But yeah. Usually you've got like the off-brand, like Fangamer or the Yeti stuff that, you know, it's cool, but you know, it's not official, so you don't really feel the need unless it's really striking to jump on it. But here we've got like Sea of Thieves controllers, external hard drives, controller stands, 2 books coming out at the end of March. Yeah, this is March, right? Yeah, March. The day of Sea of Thieves launch, we've got the Tales from the Sea of Thieves lore book. And then we've got the week after that, the art book coming out. And then you've got the comic books. You've got all of these figures and like toys and little knickknacks, and you can win fucking golden bananas if you do an all-day scavenger hunt on the Xbox site or whatever on March 19th. it starts at something ridiculous like 1 a.m. Pacific time and goes like for the duration of the day, and you have to team up with 3 people. And I'm just like, that's great if you don't have like jobs or responsibilities or any life whatsoever, and if you just shit in a diaper like Kitty Kong. But it's like, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to win those golden bananas, so I'm not even going to try. And it's so cool because it's fucking golden bananas. It's
I barely have enough time to get golden bananas in Donkey Kong 64.
I know, Donkey Kong 64 is a slog enough. Don't bring that into my real life, Xbox. But it's so this is all saying, like, it's great. It's great to have all of this attention. They're shooting somebody out of a cannon tomorrow. We're recording this on Monday, March 12th. On March 13th, they're doing this promotional event where they're shooting somebody out of a Sea of Thieves cannon in real life, trying to break this world record. And I'm just like, you know, it was a big deal when Tropical Freeze came out and they did like an ice sculpture of like some bananas or something. You know, it's like, I am not used to this level of hype. And
I can't remember. It's Mr. Pants getting an art book.
yeah. I mean, that would have been
Game Boy
fantastic.
screen does not do it justice.
That would have been fantastic. But I feel like I'm so used to this being like our insular little world, and to have that bubble kind of pierced a little bit, not burst, but pierced, and having like the outside gaming world kind of taking part in this. It feels like I don't really have a place, because usually I kind of try to corral the enthusiasm for, you know, Rare alum and the Donkey Kong universe. Even Yooka-Laylee didn't have this level of hype behind it last year. And so it's a little bit like, I don't know what to do. I can't get a handle on all this. This is too much for DK Vine. So, but anyway, we will be covering Sea of Thieves to the best of our ability starting next week. Oh my god, next week. Good lord. Like, I feel like so unprepared, because for almost 3 years now, it's been, oh, Sea of Thieves is this future game that's coming out. Sea of Thieves, it's on the horizon. Oh, and now it's a week. Okay. Well, besides that, we've also had lots of news on the Nintendo side of things. So, before the Nintendo Direct, which a March Nintendo Direct is never really a big deal in my head, because it's just, it's 3 months before E3. Who cares? They're not going to announce anything. So, they announced this, the Nintendo Direct, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And before they actually ran that, earlier in the day of the Nintendo Direct, come to find out, Nintendo has filed a Switch patent for what appears to be the DK Bongos. And when I say what appears to be the DK Bongos, the patent artwork is identical to the DK Bongos. These are the DK Bongos.
Yep.
So, why are the DK Bongos coming for the Nintendo Switch, David?
Well, it also has a screenshot of what appears to be a Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, so perhaps we can finally play it as originally intended with the bongos.
Now, when you say screenshot, you mean a crude illustration of some vague gorilla shape with flaming jets shooting out, and some trees. I like the 4 little trees in the...
Yes, very detailed.
Really gives a sense of place.
Yeah, the GameCube was a lot less powerful than I remember it.
Yeah. The GameCube sucked. Look, I know there's a lot of people listening to this who are of the GameCube generation. I have nothing but fond memories of the GameCube. GameCube nostalgia is a thing. But when you compare the GameCube to everything else around it had some great games, and it had the best controller Nintendo's ever made. The system itself sucked. I'm not talking about the games. I'm not talking about the controller. I'm talking about
the controller
the
sucked.
GameCube. All right, well, that being said, yeah, Donkey Kong Barrel Blast is a game that also sucked, but it also had a lot of love and a lot of things in there for the fans. It was the last Donkey Kong game to have out-and-out fan service from beginning to end. And the only thing that held it back was it was just miserable to play. Maybe that's being overly dramatic.
Thing is, like, instead of the bongos, you had to like shake the Wii remote, which got kind of tiring after a while.
Yeah, so it was designed to use the DK bongos on the GameCube. It was delayed for the Wii. The bongos were not compatible with the Wii, so Payon dropped.
Actually, they
bongo
were, but
support. Yeah. Well, I mean, but they didn't want. Okay,
yeah,
they were, but they didn't want to have to make people use a GameCube peripheral for the Wii.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the whole game was designed around using the bongos, right down to the actual like rocket barrels that are strapped to the ankles of the characters. They are bongos that the characters are bongoing, panning, and so the whole premise falls apart when you remove the bongos as the controller. So ironically, we need a new play control version of Donkey Kong Barrel Blast that reintegrates the bongo control, the opposite of what we got with new play control Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. So I would be down for that. I don't honestly think that's what's going to happen. Who knows? I don't have any insider information. Dave Throat has not leaked me anything on this one. But, part of me is wondering, are they just bringing all of the bongo games to the eShop and they want to actually have people, be able to play them as nature intended? So maybe they will sell the bongos as a kind of a limited time, 15th anniversary kind of deal. I don't really know. It's going to be interesting. And I'm sure we'll have colors.
Anything's nostalgic to make. I mean, they brought back Crystal Pepsi, so,
Yeah, but I had fond memories of Crystal Pepsi, and then I bought a bottle of the return of Crystal Pepsi, and I never drank it, and it expired. And I don't know why. I just got it, and I looked at it, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to put myself
anybody
through
actually
this.
likes Crystal Pepsi. They just like the idea of Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah, because Crystal Pepsi, this is not a tangent in the slightest. This fully relates to the conversation, which, is about 60% 90s nostalgia. And this season, we're really going all in on that 90s nostalgia aesthetic. Crystal Pepsi came out in the early 90s. It was like that period of the 90s before grunge really took hold in the mainstream consciousness. Grunge was getting big, but it hadn't like fully taken over assumed pop culture yet. So it was that part of the 90s that was still kind of the late 80s in culture. And so Crystal Pepsi came out, and I remember there was a lot of concern about artificial dyes and coloring in what people consumed at the time. And, that still crops up now, but caramel coloring really bothered people in the early 90s. So they're like, oh, cola. No, we don't do cola because we don't put any dark like liquids in our bodies. Okay, so we're gonna make clear Pepsi. The problem is it doesn't taste like Pepsi. It tastes like some sort of weird hybrid between Pepsi and 7-Up, and it lacks that kind of robust bite of Pepsi.
Well, you can combine a cola with the uncola, then you just have a weird. What even are you drinking?
Right, it's undead. It's basically what happens to Pepsi after it's reanimated as a shambling corpse. So, I mean, I don't know. I was a big soda kid. Just look at the history of DK Vine, and while I've mostly given up the stuff now, and consequently have lost 20 pounds in the last year. Not that I was ever really in need of losing weight, but I've lost. None of my pants fit me anymore, because I gave up soda for the most part. But yeah, even I wasn't enthused about Crystal Pepsi, besides the idea of Crystal Pepsi and being loyal to Pepsi over Coke, because I was an extreme 90s kid. I was part of the Pepsi generation. All right, where were we? Pepsi.
DK Bongos, and then...
DK Bongos. I'm sure we're going to have calls about the DK Bongos, so let's just table that discussion. I have some thoughts about the DK Bongos. Mario Tennis Aces. So Diddy does not appear to be a playable character, at least on the starting roster of Camelot's Mario Tennis Aces. And this is the game that got the most attention, at least time-wise, during the Nintendo Direct. I know a lot of people are probably disappointed by that. I am not, and that is just because, based on the information I have been fed, I fully anticipated that Diddy would not be playable. I
actually don't like it when like Kongs show up in Mario games, but like in this case, like who's going to be Donkey Kong's doubles partner?
Exactly. Like, so I wouldn't have minded it if Diddy was actually in it, but I'm not disappointed either because from what I've been led to believe, this is part of Nintendo's strategy. This is why Diddy was actually not in Mario Kart 8. And it's because they really want to build the Donkey Kong brand back up, and they want to not have it be just this little like part of the Mario franchise. This little like what is it in Total Recall? That little creature that lives in your stomach. Okay.
I don't know.
Not a Schwarzenegger fan. That's fine. Okay. So like in Stargate SG-1, the Jaffa have the Goa'uld symbiotes in their bellies. Teal'c was a Jaffa who had a symbiote in his belly, and that's what Donkey Kong has been like inside the belly of Mario. Mario being, of course, Teal'c from Stargate SG-1. So,
sure, whatever.
Yeah,
Nerd.
No. I just like saying Teal'c, as I've made abundantly clear on this podcast. Teal'c. So, Nintendo wants to get away from that. They actually want to build Donkey Kong back up as a vital IP, one of the main pillars of Nintendo again. Part of that is I think, because they want to do it, because Miyamoto wants to do it, and because the management of Nintendo wants to do it. Also because they're investing a shit ton of money in this Super Nintendo world at Universal Parks, and Donkey Kong is getting a significant amount of real estate in these parks, so they kind of have to do it. So,
yeah, I get that, but it's, Donkey
Kong doesn't have a doubles partner. It sucks.
Than, teaming up with Daisy or whatever.
Chain Chomp, yeah. I do love the absurd visual of Chain Chomp holding a tennis racket, but yeah, it's a shame because Camelot has always been the best of the cameo games, and besides the last Mario Tennis game, but that's not their fault. So it would be nice if, the Kongs could be represented, because they've always done the Kongs justice. So, but
well, apparently
again,
you'll unlock characters in online tournaments, so I don't know. You never know.
It's possible Diddy, could resurface. It could be this situation where they will give Camelot Diddy. They just want to downplay the fact that Diddy will be playable at some point. Who knows? But Donkey Kong fans should not worry about this. Is all I'm saying. Smash Brothers is coming for the Switch, and we'll be getting more into this in the next episode of the Kongversation. I'm going to be sitting down with Mitchell Wolf, Smash Brothers connoisseur, and we're going to be talking about this because we have to talk about it, and I want to get it out of the way before Sea of Thieves comes out. So, and I'm sure we're going to have calls about it. So, you know what? I don't have anything to say about it right now, but Smash is coming for Switch in some form or fashion. The Inklings are playable characters. So, okay. David, we have calls. We have quite a few calls. This is the call sack. Let's open the call sack and start pulling the calls out. Okay. Starting
play this one.
Starting now. Okay.
Hello, Kongversation. It's Andre, or GZG92 on the forum, calling again in what I'm 99% sure will be relegated to a callsack episode, since it's been a good while now since the 2 episodes where this call would have actually been relevant have come and gone, but hey, that's my own fault. Well, I mean, it's also your fault for giving such short notice before you record each episode, but what can you do? Anyway, I'm actually recording this just a few hours after your guys' first Sea of Thieves stream, and I already know this call is gonna run a little long, but I just can't resist reiterating how thoroughly I enjoyed that stream. You guys just completely sold me on buying that game on launch day. But back on topic, I thought you guys might enjoy a few belated thoughts on the DK-related announcements from the mini Nintendo Direct a couple weeks ago. And as an aside, as one of those people who always wanted to play some of the Wii U's exclusives but never quite enough to actually get a Wii U, I don't think the time has ever passed slower for me than it has for the past 2 weeks, knowing that it won't be until May that I'll finally be able to play the one Wii U game that I've been most eager to play ever since I discovered this show last March. That game, of course, being Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. But to get back on track, the story goes that I had to work until 7 p.m. the day of the Direct, and it actually wound up being an abnormally busy day of work that day, so I actually didn't get any breathing room to check for word on whether the Nintendo Direct that I had spent weeks hearing rumors about actually wound up happening that day it was supposed to until after I clocked out of work. And as soon as I get in my car and check the notifications on my phone, what do I see other than a YouTube notification by Josh from Off of the D Critique celebrating the fact that Tropical Freeze had just been revealed as coming to the Switch. So, of course, I instantly hid my phone from sight, drove straight home, and looked up the Direct while trying my absolute hardest not to look at a single thing that might spoil any other reveals. Now, given that my mind was already so focused on Tropical Freeze at this point, I don't know why I didn't immediately realize who this frenemy of Mario's was that the person in the Direct was saying was going to be the star of the next Mario plus Rabbids DLC before they played the trailer for it. But I actually only made the connection that it was going to be Donkey Kong literally just a second or two before he came on screen. I think I'm about to hit the 3-minute call time limit, so I'm going to hang up now and follow up in a second call. Thank you. Hey, this is part 2 of my phone call. Sorry again that it's running long. But anyway, as I was saying, it was only a second or two before Donkey Kong showed up on screen in the Mario plus Rabbids DLC trailer, so when I made that connection and he showed up, like, so close together, I actually cheered, yeah, you know, like, at my computer screen without meaning to. It was just such a dumb reaction and such a great moment to experience. Like, watching the Direct in its entirety would have been completely worth it, even without Tropical Freeze, just to experience that moment. Also, it's been, like, almost a full 10 years now since I've just, like, bought a piece of DLC, like, standalone, like, you know, not just buying a season pass on sale for a game that I loved already, or, like, buying the Game of the Year edition for a game I already knew going in I was going to really enjoy. But the Donkey Kong Mario plus Rabbids DLC is going to join both Sea of Thieves and Tropical Freeze on Switch in being the rare gaming purchase that I make on day one. And Hyle, since I know you still have yet to actually play Mario plus Rabbids at the time of this recording, a little forewarning. I think you're going to really, really dig it. And not just because of all the DKC stuff the DLC is going to have. But anyway, after watching that trailer, I thought that the exciting surprises were over and that the confirmations for Tropical Switch and Dark Souls Remastered, which was also part of, like, all the rumors, those two coming to Switch would just kind of tide me over for the remainder of the Direct's running time. So when the Tropical Freeze announcement finally rolled around and they played that clip showing what I recognized as the opening of the first level, but then suddenly fucking Funky Kong jumped out of that plane, I didn't squeak. Like, squealing would have actually been more dignified. The noise I made was more of a, like, screech of excitement. It was very upsetting. But yeah, I obviously, you know, I still would have preferred if I had just gone straight home that day, been completely blindsided by the Direct existing and being up already when I got home, and especially the Tropical Freeze announcement just taking me completely by surprise, but I think it's safe to say that I got the next best thing. So needless to say, the next few months are going to be an absolute blast, and as always, I'm going to be listening attentively to the Kongversation all the while. So thank you guys once again for putting on such an awesome show, and I hope I made this call entertaining enough to be worth the length. Thank you. And seriously, would it kill you to give us like a full day or two to send in our calls on the topic for each episode?
Well, thank you for the call, Andre. Not Andre Summers, former DK Vine staffer, just Andre, as he calls himself. So thank you for recounting that. Not the past Nintendo Direct, but this came after the Nintendo Direct before that, from January, where we got all of that Donkey Kong news, and a much more pleasant Nintendo Direct in that it didn't resuscitate Smash Brothers discussion. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to be bitter, trying not to let the negativity and the cynicism creep back in. I wish I could have been home and to watch the Nintendo Direct when it came out, because I would have absolutely been ecstatic to see all of that stuff roll in without any forewarning. As I mentioned on the show, I had it all spoiled for me by having the DK Vine Twitter notifications explode right after each reveal. And thank you for your kind words about Stream of Thieves as well. Our inaugural Sea of Thieves streaming on Mixer, now on our YouTube channel at dkvine.com/YouTube. We according to you, we won you over on Sea of Thieves, and that felt really nice. That was a lot of fun having that session with myself, Cameron Regal, Jeff Onan, and the aforementioned Josh from Off of the Geek Critique. And we will be doing more of those Stream of Thieves when the game comes out next week. We're going to kick off. It's going to be a regular streaming series.
When the game comes out, then I can actually play it.
Yeah, because you're not in the technical alpha or the closed beta.
Turns out I have to sign up for an alpha in order to be in it.
David thought his DK Vine email account would have just granted him access because we're all fake paid actors, but...
Well, it's going to be an entirely new experience, so... Yeah.
Well, David, we will get you involved in Stream of Thieves, and
probably.
You will crew up with us, and we'll crew up with you at home. If you would like to be on Stream of Thieves, we are actually having discussions right now about the best way to utilize the DK Vine community with Sea of Thieves. We are going to have probably a Discord channel designed around matchmaking, or I shouldn't say matchmaking, crewing up for Sea of Thieves. So whenever you want to play Sea of Thieves with a crew of one other person, two other people, or three other people, you can do it easy. And we will, we'll all be in there. If you have Sea of Thieves, then you can get into that Discord channel, and we will have discussions if you want to be on an episode of Stream of Thieves going forward. And we're also going to be doing an episode of the Kongversation inside Sea of Thieves. I don't really know the specifics of that yet, or how that would be possible, but that's going to be a train wreck or a shipwreck. Why train? So we'll
because those trains that are on the water.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Thank you for the call, Andre. And actually, I say thank you for the call. It was calls, plural. And guess what? There's another call from Andre. So let's see what he has to say here.
Hey there again, Kongversation. It's Andre calling yet again for what I'm sure will be the third time in one episode, but this time I've actually got a question for you to respond to directly. I'll keep it under 3 minutes this time, I swear. So I was thinking about Banjo-Kazooie the other day, as we all do, and for whatever reason my mind strayed to Brentilda and 2 things about her in particular. One, the question of what she's doing in Grunty's lair, and 2, the way she appears transparent at a distance, but becomes opaque as you approach her. Those 2 subjects probably sound completely unrelated other than just having something to do with Brentilda, but just bear with me on this. Now, feel free to correct me in the very possible event that I am wrong on this, but to the best of my memory, not once in all of Banjo-Kazooie does Grunty acknowledge the fact that her sister is appearing periodically in her inner sanctum and helping out the only 2 people that might pose a serious risk to her plan. So this begs the question, does Grunty know Bruntilda's there and just can't be bothered to do anything about it because she's just so confident that she'll succeed and she feels like her time would be better spent getting on with that? Or if Grunty is genuinely just unaware of Bruntilda's presence at all, might that be because the transparent quality that Bruntilda takes on until those brief moments that she needs to relay crucial intel to Banjo and Kazooie is actually her casting a spell over herself that prevents her from being detected by Grunty's surveillance over her lair, using Dingpot. Or, and this is more or less how I always interpreted it since I first played the game as a kid, actually. Is Bruntilda, in fact, not actually physically present in Grunty's lair at all, but instead using her magic as a means of sort of astrally projecting a likeness of herself into Grunty's lair for the express purpose of helping out Banjo and Kazooie on their adventure? Let me know your thoughts, and thanks once again.
Thank you for the call, Ryan Johnson, director of The Last Jedi. Spoilers, I guess. No, Bruntilda astral projecting her likeness into Grunty's lair. Well,
Honestly, I never really thought about it, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, see, I've always taken it, David, and this is just my understanding. Okay, for starters, yes, Gruntilda does acknowledge Bruntilda's presence once or twice. She complains about it, and I know it definitely comes up during the quiz, Grunty's Furnace Fun, but so Grunty is aware that Bruntilda is there, giving you tidbits about her life story. I always understood it to be Bruntilda is a squatter living in Grunty's lair. And I always concocted this backstory in my mind. Nothing in the game to really support this other than the fact that Bruntilda has green skin like Gruntilda. So I always took it to be that Bruntilda used to be a bad witch like Gruntilda and Klungo, sort of, and Gruntilda's other sisters, Mingella and Blobelda. And then she renounced her wicked ways and became a fairy godmother instead, embracing good magic. But the degradation, the toll that the bad black magic took on her was still present in her sickly skin tone that can't be reversed.
And her nose fell off.
Her nose fell off as well, like Michael Jackson. Very topical reference to be making in 2018. Hey, remember when Michael Jackson, his prosthetic nose came off, and he was like, oh, that guy with the plastic surgery and the diddly and the kids, maybe, and then he died, and we don't care about that anymore. We just care about what a magnificent artist he was. But I remember those early aughts, those Michael Jackson jokes. So Bruntilda, though, she yeah, I always took it to be that she once lived in Grunty's lair with Grunty and Klungo and renounced her ways, but she didn't have anywhere to go, so she just... Grunty's lair is large enough where Bruntilda could kind of live on the margins of its society, like a hobo under the bridge, and that's what Bruntilda was doing in Grunty's lair. I could be wrong.
I mean, it's a big lair, so,
It's a big lair, plus that would explain why we never see... Bruntilda again, because the layer is basically collapsed in on itself. The entrance to it is collapsed in on itself, and Bruntilda is just living it up. Once Bruntilda falls off the layer and gets the boulder trapped on top of her, then Bruntilda is just kind of taken over the whole thing. She lives there with Cheeto. They have a good life. And do I ship them? Look, I'm not going to say what I fantasize about when I go to bed at night, and I sometimes find my hand lingering in my nether regions. But look, All I'm saying is it's a possibility, and should we not embrace all possibility in life? If we close ourselves off to the possibility, David, I mean, what is the purpose of even living? We're just going to have a miserable existence, and then we die without ever savoring the many flavors that is this life.
Hey, well, what if in the next game, like, the Cheeto pages are filled with fan fiction of him and Bruntilda?
I would be okay with that. Banjo, Toonzooie, Poon.
Oh yes, Poonzooie, whatever.
Yeah.
3E. I forgot that was a thing. So thanks.
Apparently,
for
there is a
reminding me of
sequel to
that.
Banjo, Poonzooie, or whatever the hell it's called, because I purged it from my brain space. I have too much Sea of Thieves lore I need to study now. But yeah. Look, if there isn't erotica between Bruntilda and Cheeto, I want there to be. And I want somebody out there to read it. And I want somebody to publish an ebook. Damn it. And you know what? We'll do a literary analysis of your filthy smut. I promise you that. You won't do it. I'll get Nick to do it. He's my go-to smut man. Which is news to him, apparently. Okay. Thank you for the calls, Andre. Yes, you're right. 3 in one episode. All right, let's take our fourth caller. Well, actually, our second caller, but you know what I mean. You know.
Excuse me. This is Rob Butler, Hyle, and I have a question for you. I think I found a little bit of dogma in your normally rigorous, legalistic interpretation of facts. Do we know for sure that Mr. Pants is real? Okay, obviously, the game is real in real life, but is the character Mr. Pants a real person in the Donkey Kong universe? Now, hear me out. We never technically know that we saw a physical appearance of him, do we? On the TV, when you turn it on, there's not a little man inside there. It's not like Willy Wonka. You just turn it on and an image is projected, and it could be anything. And usually, when you're in a 3D world, like the world of Banjo-Kazooie, and you see a simplistic two-dimensional image on your TV screen, that's a cartoon, a two-dimensional animation like SpongeBob or Seinfeld. And so, what I'm saying is, how is it not equally valid to make a guess that Mr. Pants is merely a fictional mascot for an underwear brand? Pantsland isn't a real place, or maybe it's a theme park in the UK. But Mr. Pants is a cartoon character on the TV in these commercials. Maybe he got his own show that lasted for 2 episodes, like those like Geico Cavemen or whatever. But how do you know? How can you say that's definitely not the case? I'm not saying you have to change the interpretation that you hold to on your website, which is not mine. I just want you to acknowledge that my idea could be equally as valid, because I need validation from those that I look up to. Thank you, Hyle. Bye.
Oh, Rob Butler. Oh, well, first of all, any dogma concerning Mr. Pants would actually be called Socksma, because his dog is Socks. Socks the dog. So, David, is Mr. Pants real? What do you think?
Well, we always said was that it was like a live broadcast, and which is kind of a stretch, I'll admit. But the thing is, like during the end credits, it would, like all the people who worked on the game would have like nicknames based on like a character from the game, and yeah, Lee Love Day was like Lee Mr. Pants Love Day. So
That's right. And that's actually the smoking gun. That is the magic bullet. That is the bit of JFK's brain matter on Jackie O's dress. Well, she wasn't Jackie O then because she hadn't married Onassis. Well, but that set the stage for her to marry Onassis. So what I'm saying is, yes, because of that little tidbit in the credits, that gives us the evidence we need that Mr. Pants is in fact a real character in the world of Banjo-Tooie, just as real and valid as the other ones in that world.
Yeah, like we didn't get, like, I don't know, Greg Gavila from off of Jet Force Gemini Males.
Exactly. Or Ed stuffed Donkey Kong doll Brian.
Or in the Xbox version, stuffed Famous Girl on another console. Though.
Yeah, right. Vague chimpanzee ears toy. No, we didn't get that. So we got Mr. Pants. Plus, in It's Mr. Pants, there are many puzzles that actually incorporate DKU characters. Banjo is one. Birdie is another from off of Conker's Bad Fur Day. So it suggests to me that Mr. Pants, world traveler that he is, has traveled south to the Rare Archipelago and has met these characters. And that's enough for me, I mean, personally. Plus, let's not discount the fact that you, Rob Butler, and me, but when I say me, I mean you, the character you, me, or you, depending on your personal canon. And you, David, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
I am you from off of It's Mr. Pants.
Yeah.
And, like, Spartacus, yeah.
So this whole concept of the me or Xbox avatar character, the user insert character that, became prevalent, especially during the eras of the Wii and the Xbox 360, the first game to actually utilize that in a Donkey Kong universe, from a certain point of view, was It's Mr. Pants, because Mr. Pants is not the actual protagonist of It's Mr. Pants. I mean, he is, because he's the hero of anything he appears in, but the person who's actually doing the puzzles in It's Mr. Pants, which is a game show, is you. You're actually the contestant on the game show. So it's actually sets a very important precedent that you first appeared in the Donkey Kong universe as a contestant on the game show. You were the Ken Jennings of It's Mr. Pants. And because of that...
Right up until Muddle Mode.
Well, I beat Muddle Mode. I don't know about you and your personal canon, but I beat Muddle Mode. So, because of that, you gained so much notoriety among the denizens of the Rare Archipelago, because they're all huge Mr. Pants, but Mr. Pants is like George Clooney and the Pope rolled into one. He's like, he's just this whole other level of fame. He's basically the closest thing we have to the second coming of Christ among Donkey Kong Island, the Isle of Hags, Willow Woods, Timbers Island. They all love Mr. Pants. So because you appeared on the inaugural episodes of It's Mr. Pants and you did so well, set so many records, and then he later invited you back, of course, for his Mr. Pants Mobile Edition, because I'm sure you've played that, Rob Butler. Because of that, then you became kind of famous yourself in the Rare Archipelago, and that's how you got invited to participate in all of these events that would later come, including up to Mario Kart and Smash Brothers. So do not discount the importance that It's Mr. Pants not only has for Mr. Pants himself and his wacky cast of characters, but you yourself. That was your in into the Donkey Kong universe. That was my in. David, your in. And when I say my and your, I of course just mean you, the character you.
Yes, the Time Magazine Person of the Year in 2006. You.
Right. So I think all of that, you just have to weigh that, yeah, Mr. Pants is a real dude. Why is the art style different? It's as much as I hate South Park, it's an easy reference. It's Terrence and Phillip?
Yeah.
It's Mr. Pants is always just because he is so resplendent in his magnificence that he's always portrayed as a stick figure man, because no other way could do him justice by the artist at Rare. So, okay, I've spewed enough bullshit.
Maybe it's
Thank
like
you for the call,
Muhammad,
Robert.
where you can't actually draw him, so you just do a stick figure instead.
Yeah. Although, I think because when it comes down to it, actually portraying Mr. Pants in a realistic style would be horrifying, because he's
My brain hurts.
He's a pasty, pudgy man with a mustache and a bowler hat. He would look like the aforementioned hobo under a bridge. Nobody wants, so it's easier to just convey that he is basically God's gift to humanity as a stick figure man. Thank you for the call, Rob Butler. Seriously, thank you. It's always nice to talk about Mr. Pants, and you gave me an opportunity to talk about Mr. Pants, so I will owe you. I owe you now, Rob Butler. So up to you appearing on the Kongversation. We should do a Kongversation mini someday. I say that. Okay. Thank you for the call. Let's hear what the next caller has to say. Hopefully about Mr. Pants.
G'day, lads. Scratch69 here. How's it cracking, eh? Hey, I'm doing a call for the coal sack episode. Whenever that is. So this is for the coal sack. The sack, like my ball sack. Anyway, so, my question for you, Hyle, is, if you could be an apartheid dictator, what kind of dictator would you be? Alright, lads. Have a good one.
We don't call screen on the call sack. We just take every call we can get. That much is clear. If I could be a dictator, David, I'll include you in this. We could be a dictator. Well, look, I was gonna say K. Rool, but honestly, it would probably be Donkey Kong when you really think about it. Because
Wait, what?
I mean, hear me out. So dictionary.com defines dictator as noun.
Okay, with you so far.
Period. A person exercising absolute power, especially a ruler who has absolute, unrestricted control in a government without hereditary succession. I mean, isn't that basically Donkey Kong Island? And yeah, there is hereditary succession, but it seems pretty biased.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know what exactly the government makeup of Donkey Kong Island. We talked about this. We did an episode a while back about politics in the DKU, and we basically said in very, very nice terms that Donkey Kong Island was basically ruled by one figure, and so sure, Donkey Kong's a dictator. I'll be Donkey Kong. David, which dictator would you be?
I don't know. K. Rool, I guess. Because then I get to wear a different costume and pretend it's a completely different character. And
I think General Scales would be a good one too, just because I like taking naps, and so when I have important stuff to do, I could just take a nap instead. So yeah, I'm gonna change my answer to General Scales.
So the Panther King, maybe, because all I have to do is drink milk and then die.
Yeah, I mean,
although apparently the tables there aren't entirely stable for drinking milk. So
yeah, and plus I don't really want an alien to burst out of my chest. I'd want it to burst out of my stomach, much like a Jaffa holding a Gould symbiote like Teal'c from off of Stargate SG-1. So, Scraps, we spent way too much time on your call, but thank you. And thank you for being such a weirdly effective and efficient moderator on the DK Vine forum. We haven't really addressed that too much on the podcast, but Scraps is an iron finger on the DK Vine forum.
Yes, for some reason we decided to trust this guy to run the forums.
Yeah, and he's actually doing a very good job. So thank you, Scraps. I guess it's because he gets his yah-yahs out by calling the Kongversation, and then he is Mr. Corporate on the forum, I guess. Thank you. And thank you for... I'm not sure what an apartheid dictator was. I ignored that part. So, next call.
Hello, Kongversation. It is Kevin Folgers, also known as Croconut on the forums, also known as Gothic Teddy Bear. So, a call sack episode, huh? Man, I haven't heard one of those in quite a while. But, anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about the future of Donkey Kong and what I think we're going to be seeing at E3. Now, I've been known getting my expectations for things in the past has led me down a terrible path of disappointment and fooling myself. But I'm feeling a little more optimistic here. Between the alleged sort of Phase 1 comments to the sort of historical precedent of the last Donkey Kong game getting re-released and then being wowed by a new game at E3. I think it's going to be a 3D platformer, and that's a risky guess, but I think that David Wise will be composing the music for a 3D platformer. There's also been rumors, that, like we've heard rumors years ago, that David Wise was working with Nintendo. They've resurfaced, and they've been sort of rebranded under new rumors stating that he's been in Texas working for Nintendo. I don't believe it's a new IP that David Wise is doing the music for, but it could happen. He seems to have developed a rapport with Retro throughout the last few years. And, I think anything is possible, but I definitely think that we will be seeing a new Donkey Kong at E3. And, I think there's a lot to look forward to in the world of Donkey Kong, That's about all I've got for today. What else do you think we'll see at E3? I think we'll see Smash Brothers. I don't think we'll be, seeing too much of Smash Brothers unless it's a holiday release. It shouldn't take too long to balance the new characters if it's just Namco, pulling a Majora's Mask or Splatoon 2 situation, making a new game but keeping the balance stats of the veterans the same. But that's a subject for another day. Anyways, Donkey Kong at E3? What do you think? Anyways, have a good day, Kongversation. Woohoo!
I think Kevin Folgers has had too much Folgers to drink. He put the coffee grounds in the coconut. He has too many names too. Gothic Teddy Bear. Okay, so this was actually clearly a call before the most recent Nintendo Direct, since he mentioned Smash Brothers in the hypothetical. But yeah, I think we'll see Smash Brothers at E3.
I think. Well, they just said 2018. It could be just come out. That also includes like tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, they're just gonna drop Smash Brothers unannounced tomorrow. It's gonna come out March 20th. Just as a middle finger to Rare. I don't know. Like, we don't really know though, David. Do we know if the new Smash Brothers is just Smash 4 with all of the DLC bundled together and some new stuff added?
I assumed it was, but maybe that's just because, we got, Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and other, Wii U games on a system that people are actually playing. So...
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like they're kind of skirting around the issue, and they're trying to promote it like it's a brand new game, but I'm suspicious. It kind of reminds me of... I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but I know enough about Harry Potter. When they did the stage play, The Cursed Child, and then they released the script for The Cursed Child in book form, and they promoted it like Scholastic, who has publishing rights in the US for Harry Potter, and all of the bookstores, they promoted it as the 8th Harry Potter book. Finally, it's here. And they just conveniently ignored that it was a stage.
Just the script for the play.
A rehearsal script for the play, complete with typos. So that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from I'm not even going to call it Smash 5 at this point, just Smash Switch.
Super Smash Brothers working title, I believe, is what it's called.
Yeah. Super Smash Brothers for Switch. I mean, it's going to be called I'm sure it's going to be called Super Smash Brothers for Switch.
Super Smash Brothers 2018 video game.
Yeah. Super Smash Brothers sings the rock and roll hits of 2018. So I don't really know what to think about that, and that's why like I honestly just can't get that excited or agitated about it, because part of me is just thinking it's kind of going to be a ripoff, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm sure people are going to be excited about it, and it's going to be this huge deal regardless. But yeah, I'm on to you guys. I know you're sneaky, you're duplicitous, so you're not gonna fool me with any Smash Brothers nonsense, including any fucking character ballads. Do not pull that shit again, Sakurai and Nintendo. And
is he even working on this anymore?
Well, he claims he is, but that's why I think, considering how bitter and burned out, and like he like, I don't know, didn't he like lose his hands or something? Like, didn't they get chopped off? I just remember like he was on life support at the end of the last Smash Brothers. Like he was in an iron lung, and he couldn't go on any further, and a giant Native American put him out of his misery by smothering him with a pillow. I remember this happening, and so he seems to be like, oh yes, I'm working on it. Oh, I'm active about it on the Twitter machine, and so that seems to me to suggest that it's just the same game with just some more stuff thrown in, because that's the only way I could see Sakurai being involved with this, because I fully expected 4 to be the last time he was involved with the franchise. We shall see. They coaxed him back before, and I think maybe like a couple years of downtime, and then they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do Smash Brothers with or without you." And he was just like, "Well, this is primarily what I'm known for. This is where I have my power, so I should do it." So it could go either way. I don't know what I'm talking about. The future of Donkey Kong, though, that is, I don't know. 3D platformer. I would hope we're gonna get a 3D platform. I mean, thing is, I mean, I'm probably the wrong person to ask as far as, well, what do you think we're gonna get with Donkey Kong? Because I'm like, well, I think we're gonna get a 3D platformer. I think we're gonna get a third and final installment in the Returns trilogy. I think we're gonna get a game for the 3DS, a Donkey Kong Land Returns, if you will. I think we're gonna get a new Diddy Kong Racing. I think we're gonna get a Donkey Kong, a new play control Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. I think we're gonna
get play control Donkey Kong Barrel Blast.
Yeah, right. I think we're gonna get a new Donkey Konga game with all Ed Sheeran songs. A joke I made on the news update on DKVine.com, because for me, what would signify Donkey Konga in 2018? The North American track listing for Donkey Konga in 2018, where other regions get like really good songs or tonally appropriate songs, and we get just like these shitty attempts at being mainstream. Maybe Ed Sheeran would be like too current. Maybe
they're too expensive, so like they have to, I don't know.
It would be like Sam Smith or something. Like they would go back a couple years. It wouldn't be Adele, definitely not. But whatever. It would probably be like Lady Gaga, or which, I don't know. I would prefer Lady Gaga over what we got in Donkey Konga 2. But anyway, I'm the wrong person to ask, because I could visualize all of these Donkey Kong games, and I want like mainline Donkey Kong titles, and I want to have spin-offs again. But really, intellectually, I would think that if Retro is not doing a new Donkey Kong game, if Tropical Freeze for the Switch is kind of what all Retro is doing for Donkey Kong, and if nobody else is, like Monster, is doing a 2D continuation of Donkey Kong, and I still hope they are, but I would guess a 3D platformer would be what we'd see, just because there's been too many, like, wink wink comments from Nintendo, not anytime recently, but from the last 5+ years, that signify that it's an idea they've at least been kicking around among different studios working with Nintendo. So
maybe we'll finally get Donkey Kong Golf.
I would love that. If Diddy can't appear in Camelot's games anymore, just give us Donkey Kong Golf finally.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's not in Mario Tennis.
Well, I remember Kevin Callahan said the reason he wasn't in Mario Kart 8 was because Diddy Kong Racing Wii U was coming. And, you know what? As much faith as I put in Kevin Callahan over the years, to quote a song from Donkey Konga 2, that's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion.
Also, to quote another song from Donkey Kong 2, it's been a while since we've heard anything.
I'm getting the sweats. I'm getting like nervous sweats just hearing. They fucking ruined REM for me. Like I was never a huge REM fan. I kind of like Man on the Moon, but I'm not like, you know, all about REM. But they've ruined REM. I hear REM play, and I like look for the nearest trench to hide in because I'm going to battle. It's like, my palms start hurting as well as sweating because I'm just ready to pan. Anyway, who knows? The future of Donkey Kong. This is the first time in a long time that the future of Donkey Kong could literally go in any direction. That's kind of what's so exciting and maybe a little terrifying about where we are right now. We know there are big plans for Donkey Kong, and things are surfacing, like David Wise is doing music for Nintendo, and here are the DK bongos over here, and we've got rumors about 3D Donkey Kong games, and Retro is doing a port of Tropical Freeze and Donkey Kong DLC and Mario plus Rabbids. Like, I'm getting so many mixed signals right now. Like, I don't know what to believe, besides the stuff that's actually been announced. So it's exciting. It is exciting, and at least we're not in this dull period where we don't think we're going to get anything. This is probably the most open-ended and like full of possibility moment in Donkey Kong fandom since the buyout era, but like that era, part of the buyout era before we really knew what the buyout era was going to entail. Like they announced Jungle Beat and they announced King of Swing, and it was like, and Rare was doing the Game Boy Advance remakes, and we didn't really kind of descend into full-on nihilism yet. That's what this reminds me of, this period. Because country is still back and vital and being bandied about, so I'm not really worried, even with the bongos looming. I would be okay with a new bongo game, so long as we got mainline Donkey Kong games, and Donkey Kong wasn't tethered to the bongos. So, those are my feelings on it. Thank you, Kevin, for the call. We got a couple calls to take from this next caller, so let's play them back to back.
Hey guys, it's Ethan or Bam the Bear here, and I had a little, I'm not sure if you want to call it theory, but whatever. I posted a thread about it, but I'd just like to get your guys' interpretations on it. So up until now, it feels like there's been basically, I guess you could say, two big, almost kind of all-encompassing clans in the Donkey Kong universe, those being the Kongs and the Bears. You know. So, after I started to do some thinking about something I saw, and I was wondering if there may be room for a third clan, as I've started to dub it the B clan. And no, not B as in B-E-E, B as in just the letter B. A clan that encompasses all the Bs of the Donkey Kong universe. Now, of course, this theory kind of sprung into my head after the release of Yooka-Laylee, and of course we got that game's main villain, Capital B. Now, one thing that I found kind of almost strange was Capital B almost, he shared that kind of part of his name, the single B, with another character, Honeybee, from Banjo-Kazooie, and I was starting to try to wonder, if there's, a connection there, because they seem like pretty different species of bees. And I was kind of started to wonder, maybe this could be a Kong situation where it's different types of bees belonging to the same clan. They don't have to be directly related, but at least in the clan. And then this almost kind of got to get further, because when I was replaying Tropical Freeze, I stumbled upon the bee enemies of that game, the Buzzies, and this is almost kind of a different theory, but they kind of resemble Capital B, and I almost started to wonder, is Capital B a Buzzy, or is he related to the Buzzies, and could maybe the Buzzies go into this bee family? Almost kind of like the Manky Kongs of the bee family. So, anyway, I don't have the list with me, darn it, but I was almost kind of wondering if I try to put a little list together who I think belongs in this bee family. So, I think the members would be Honeybee, Mr. King and Queen Bee from Conker's Bad Fur Day, who would obviously be renamed Mr. King Bee Bee and Miss Queen Bee Bee. Let's see. And then there would be Capital B, and I would say open up the spot to thought you could escape me. Hey, this is Van, and I was kind of cut short on my previous called out my potential of a B clan in the Kong universe, but I was listing off members. I think it should be open up to the various bees, just various bees seen in the Kong universe, such as the Buzzies, or as I would like to call them now, the Buzzy Bees, from Tropical Freeze, and just the generic bees from Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day. And that's about it. I was just hoping to get your thoughts on this. Could this kind of just tie between Honeybee and Capital B, and, potentially Capital B being a Buzzy, as seen Tropical Freeze, as natives from could that justify an entire new clan in the Donkey Kong universe, along with the Kongs and the Bears? And yeah, this is totally just not an excuse for me to ramble on about Capital B. Totally not at all. And also I just had one more message. I forgot which episode this was. It was about the love episode, but you mentioned about my similarities with another certain fellow named Mitchell Wolf, and I would just like to send a little message to Mitchell. Dad, is that really you? Can you come back? Mom's really struggling without the child support. Dad. So really, what are your thoughts on the B clan? Okay, bye guys.
Well, thank you for the calls, Ethan, or Ban the Bear. Everybody has so many handles, it's so hard to keep track. Your first call got cut off, much like the honeybee population is getting cut off. And by that, I mean getting wiped out, and we're losing our pollinators, and it's going to be ecological disaster. But more importantly, is there a bee clan in the Donkey Kong universe? Well, David, I like the way he's thinking here, because at first when he said, like, there's two main clans, Kong and Bear, I was like, well, what about the Kremlings? And then I realized he was actually referring to surnames, because we've got Kongs, and, you know, it's referred to as the Kong family, but it's not actually, they're not actually all related. It's just any primate in the Rare Archipelago generally has the Kong surname, because it's a clan designation, more than likely derived from the ancient Tiki-Tak tribe who worshipped Tiki Tong, ergo taking Kong as a tribute to Tiki Tong.
Or possibly King Kong from all those TVs that washed up aboard.
Well, there's that too, but I like to think that King Kong was actually inspired by the Kongs of the Rare Archipelago, because that makes Donkey Kong and friends more important than King Kong. So whenever they refer to Kong, in my head, they're actually referring to the Kongs of Donkey Kong Island. Even though there's a whole lawsuit that Universal did lose, so maybe that's real life proof that the Kongs came first. Anyway, so I like the way he's thinking here. It gets a little dodgy when you really like try to examine this, because with Kongs and bears, they're all kind of anthropomorphic. They all have the ability to talk and wear clothes, and they're all basically humans in fursuits. Whereas the bees are a little bit different in that they come in different varieties. We have like very, very basic bees and weird bee wasp hornet hybrids like zingers who may not have the ability to speak. And then we've got full-on bees who can converse, and they have human-level drama, like the bees from Off of Conqueror's Bad Fur Day. Not the pollinating bees who swarmed the sunflower, but the king and the queen. Yeah.
It's a bit of a goofy Pluto thing going on.
Yeah, you get a bit of that. And granted, we explain all of that by, Taj Enchanted. Taj Enchanted. Literally, we have a genie did it excuse, and it's perfectly valid. That's what's so great about Taj. Why Taj is actually maybe the most important character in our fandom, or fanin. But, you know, I don't really, I've never really thought about it, but he's right. Capital B and Honeybee both have B as a last name, and Queen Bee also does. I'm not sure if the Zingers should count, though. They're part of the Kremlin crew. They seem to be Kremlin crew affiliated, and anything that's affiliated with the Kremlin crew, you have to surmise that their evolution was influenced by the Kremlin source underneath Crocodile Isle. So it becomes a bit dodgy. Now, that doesn't mean that the Zingers aren't capable of speech. I wouldn't have thought that the Naughties were, but Banjo-Kazooie established Naughties can converse. And, you know, Manky Kongs are part of the Kremlin crew, but they still have the Kong designation. So maybe Queen Bee, because she's a bee, she has that bee designation. And maybe King Zing, his full name is actually King Zing B. That doesn't rhyme, and it's terrible, and it's just pure shit, but it's a possibility. I don't really know. And I've never really considered that. It's also possible that it's just a common B last name, because it's like Smith. And now you say that these bees aren't the same type of bees. Honestly, I'm a bit of a bee racist in that I can't tell them apart. They could all just have different features. Even as a little kid predating Donkey Kong Country, I was very fascinated by primates, apes and monkeys. So to me, like, the difference between them was always super obvious, whereas bees, I don't really give a shit so much. I mean, I don't hate bees, but I also don't want to get stung by them, so I keep my distance. Ethan.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if real pigs were as big as Zingers, then that would probably scare the hell out of me, because Zingers are...
No.
Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, the bugs in the Kremlin crew are really huge.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
about the size of a monkey.
About the size of a monkey, or about half the size of a monkey, depending on what they were. And, I mean... Granted, these are also monkeys who ride on a giant spider and see fit to fit him with tennis shoes, sneakers on every foot. That's more than I would do. I don't mind spiders, but I also don't want to sit on one and have it carry me around. So, where were we? Oh, yeah. Insects and arachnids are gross. I think that's... I'm a bit of a little girl whenever like a bug gets into our home. It's my wife who's getting it out of the house. I usually keep my distance. I'm like, oh, I'll open the door for you while you put it in a glass. We have a bug cup, and she just puts the bug cup over them, puts like an envelope underneath the bug cup, and then takes it outside. So, because we're filthy vegetarians, and we do not eat the bugs that go into ours. I know it's a good source of protein, but we don't eat meat, and this whole notion that we need to start eating bugs because it's a reliable source of meat. Well, what if you don't eat meat? What if we don't tell me I need to eat a cricket or a cockroach? I'm not going to do it, and I don't feel like I need to because I don't consume cattle. I'm not part of the problem here, people.
I am.
Yeah. Well, then,
but I don't murder bugs, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm just saying you might have to start eating crickets in 20 to 30 years. Once we have the aforementioned ecological disaster, when all the pollinators get wiped out, then you're gonna have to start eating, I don't know, dung beetles and millipedes and
Sounds fun.
Yeah. All right. So to answer your question, I don't know, Ethan. I don't know.
B-movie game is not DKU.
I thought that was actually a comment in the live stream chat, because I thought maybe like Mamechi was in there. But then I remember B-movie is not a Disney movie, so he wouldn't bring up B-movie. So anyway, thank you for the call. It's something to think about. I do not have an answer for you right now. But it makes me want to explore the Bs of the Donkey Kong universe a bit more, and especially capital B, and see what I can suss out. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of heavy fanon searching. And maybe when I do get a Switch and Yooka-Laylee, I replay Yooka-Laylee for it, something will come to me. So let me, as a DK Vine co-founder once said, put a pin in it, and we'll come back to this at a later point. But yeah, thank you for giving me something to chew on. Not a cockroach, though. Definitely not gonna. David's gonna chew on a cockroach, but yeah, this is just gonna become Fear Factor. Kongversation season 36 will be Fear Factor, where we just shove things into David's mouth.
I'll probably be dead by then.
Well, yeah, if you eat the wrong bug, it will kill. Okay.
Yes. Or possibly we all die with the nuclear, I don't know, something.
Right, something, yeah. Okay. Call.
Next call.
Okay, so here is my question, and this is a Jewish hoser. So, my question is, in Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, there is a little bit of lore, and with the new Donkey Kong DLC update coming out, my question is the Donkey Kong we see in there the Donkey Kong himself, or is that Donkey Kong a Donkey Kong that was mixed with a rabbit? Now, hear me out. So this is how it happens in the game. I'm not sure if you've played or how much you know of it, but Mario, like Rabbid Mario and Mario, are two separate things. They never have mixed together. It's Rabbid Mario because he was wearing a Mario hat or something like that. But the enemies that you fight were enemies that were merged with the Rabbid, with the Super Merge, the headset. So, since Rabbid Kong is an enemy that you faced, at some point, was Donkey Kong merged with a Rabbid? Or is this a separate Donkey Kong, just like Rabbid Mario and Mario are separate? I don't know. That's why you're going to talk about it for the next 5 minutes. And I will listen. So thanks. Bye.
5 minutes? I'm not going to talk about this for 5 minutes, Jewish
5 minutes?
Hoser.
Well, 5 hours.
Well, David, do you think we can get 5 minutes of discussion out of this?
No, well, I actually haven't played through all of Mario plus Rabbids equals Kingdom Battle. I'm like in the middle of like World 2. So But I have played through the Rabbid Kong boss fight, so that was Rabbid Kong, and the Donkey Kong in the trailer is Donkey Kong.
Yeah, so I understand like the philosophical debate he's having here. It's very much like what stoned freshmen would talk about in college if, they talked about Donkey Kong instead of actually, heavier shit. But what I think the Donkey Kong DLC suggests to me is that it eliminates the possibility that Rabbid Kong would be Donkey Kong merged with a rabbit. Even though he's an enemy, I think having Donkey Kong as a protagonist in DLC negates that. It's not the case. It's a rabbit merged with a picture of Donkey Kong, or maybe it was a rabbit who went on the DK Vine forum. I haven't really, again, played through it, so I don't know if they establish in game. Maybe somebody in a live stream can help us out how Rabbid Kong was generated. But it could have just been, I know there are DK barrels that float by at one point, so maybe it was a rabbit with a DK barrel. I don't know, but it's not Donkey Kong, because I think having Donkey Kong as a playable character in the DLC puts him on even footing with Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Yoshi?
Yes.
Yoshi?
Yeah, Yoshi.
Yeah, so that wasn't 5 minutes, was it? I'm sorry, Jewish hoser. I don't know what's wrong. I did spend about 5 minutes talking about bees in the Donkey Kong universe. So it's not that my skills have gotten rusty. It's that because I don't have firsthand knowledge of Mario plus Rabbids equals Kingdom Battle, then I really can't just prattle on endlessly about it yet. I'll get there. Oh, I'll get there. But I hope this hasn't caused you to lose faith in us. I hope this hasn't caused you to lose your religion, as Michael Stipe once said in Donkey Konga 2.
That was just the Michael Stipe cover band artist sounded like.
Well, okay,
they're
so
cheap.
so David, I mean,
all right, that's filtered through the bongos.
Right. You know it, but for the people at home who don't know it, can you explain to them the DK Vine theory on?
Hey, you're the one who made it up, so
I know, but I want to hear it out of your mouth, because it's weirdly fascinating to me to hear my own bullshit come out of somebody else's mouth.
God damn it! All right, fine. So apparently, the reason the songs in Donkey Kong sound different, it's not because Nintendo is too cheap to get to the rights to the actual songs. It's because the DK bongos have some sort of sound filter that makes the songs sound different.
Yeah. So the bongos can pick up music. Not only can you play music on the bongos, but they can also pick up music being broadcast far and wide. And we know radio transmissions can be carried a long way away, especially at night. So basically, they are radio transmissions being picked up on the bongos and then filtered through the magic of the bongos, which I understand to be an ancient Tiki-Tak tribe device. That it was actually the first inclination of the Tiki-Tak tribe. Well, no, that would be the Golden Bananas, actually. But it's an early indication that there was a Tiki-Tak tribe. They found these magical bongos in the jungle, and yeah, they can pick up radio transmissions, and that's why you get such a wide array of shit. It's not that the Kongs want to play this shit, like Smash Mouth and Good Charlotte,
hey now,
and Blue Cantrell. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, the Donkey Kong doesn't give a shit about. Donkey Kong likes, like, good, like, Ladysmith Black Mambazo. He likes, I'm sure, like, maybe somebody's a Beatles fan, because I'm biased, but, I don't know, like, he likes good music. Michael Jackson, sure, like, classic MJ. Not Michael Jordan, he's MJ. But, okay, so anyway, they're not picking all of the songs necessarily. They're coming out of the bongos. They're being filtered through the bongos from outside sources. Maybe that radio station that initiated the contest in Donkey Kong Land 3, David, to find the Lost World. Not the Lost World or the other Lost World, but that Lost World from Donkey Kong Land 3. And so they use these songs that are filtered, and it makes the vocals slightly off, but they use those as a guide to play the bongos on. And because of that, it sounds like cheap cover bands that are inferior to the actual genuine articles, but they're not. It's actually the real ones. It's just being filtered. Now, that does raise the question, though, like, would Michael Stipe be a DKU character? And this came up when Rock Band came out. And I think we ultimately decided no, because they are just pre-recorded songs. We cannot say, like, this particular artist is a Donkey Kong Universe character, like Mr. Pants.
No more than
TV.
say having a picture of like Jet Force Gemini characters in Banjo-Tooie doesn't make them actual characters,
right? It's a fine line, because, you know, if Ryan Stiles would appear in a video game, that would be DKU, because Ryan Stiles' video game debut was in the bonus documentary,
or even a demo disc for
right. Exactly, because that was we viewed that as official material because it was on an Xbox disc that you got for reserving Conquer Alive and Reloaded. So Ryan Stiles would be a DKU character, and so if he would reappear, then we would have to cover that game, probably as a cameo game. If there was like a Who's Line, well, if there was a Whose Line Is It Anyway video game, would that be a Conquer spinoff then? And I think maybe it would be. Or would it be a cameo game? These are the questions we have to have. Did we hit 5 minutes yet, David? I haven't been talking myself.
Probably.
All right. Terrific. Thank you for the call, Jewish Hoser.
Hi, Kongversation. This is Critter from the message board, first-time caller here. I wanted to call because I'm pretty excited about, I think it was user Banjo-Kazooie. He posted these scans from the German Donkey Kong 64 Player's Guide, as well as the website that was up in Germany while Donkey Kong 64 was being promoted. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. I mean, there's a really cool render of Glimmer in the Player's Guide, which shows that Glower was originally supposed to be Glimmer. And that goes, you know, again, I thought they were supposed to use just Donkey Kong Country characters for that game, but it shows that they were at least planning an animal buddy from Donkey Kong Country 2 before they changed it. So that was just really cool. But my question is, there's a lot of interesting information on that website. And can we consider any of it canon? So there's some stupid stuff like it says Lanky Kong is Chunky Kong's uncle once removed, which would mean that he was Chunky's parents' uncle, which would make him 2 generations older than Chunky. So that doesn't make any sense. I think they meant cousin once removed. That would probably fit better. And then you have other things like the translations for the names of the worlds are different, so that goes against what we have in games. So that couldn't be canon. But then you have some other information like Tiny Kong. It says that she's an aspiring model and she looks up to Candy Kong, but she's not tall enough, so she can't be a model. That would be a perfect explanation for why all of a sudden in her redesign she's so tall. She probably convinced Cranky to make her a permanent potion so that she could grow, so that she could be a model. And that would explain why Dixie, even though she's older, isn't that size. And I just think that would really help with the lore. Then you've got things like Donkey Kong. His tie is supposed to be kind of like the emblem of the Kong clan, and he received it for all of the good work he's done for the clan. So that's really cool. And then you've got, in there it talks about Diddy Kong being as famous as Donkey Kong because of what he did with saving everyone against Whizpig. So I think that, you know, in that website, there's some stuff that clearly we can't see as canon, but there's other stuff that really helps fill in the gaps in the lore. So I was just wondering, can we consider any of it canon? What are the rules state on this? And, just would love to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks. Hi, Kongversation. This is Critter, second-time caller. I promised myself I wouldn't call twice, but I forgot to say something that I thought was important for my last call. The reason that it's so cool that the website, the German website, mentions Donkey Kong's tie being this emblem of service to the Kong clan is because I believe in the artwork for Donkey Kong 94 for the Game Boy, that's, Cranky Kong with Donkey Kong. And Cranky Kong is portrayed with a tie. And I believe, if not the sprites, I think some of the artwork. So that would mean that when Cranky Kong was the clan leader, or tribe leader maybe I should say, he wore the tie. And that got passed on to his grandson, and who knows who will get passed on to next. So anyway, thought that was an important bit of information that I left out. Thanks again.
Well, thank you. First-time caller, Critter, from off of Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. Should have been Crunch. Should have been Crunch. So, David, have you seen this quite interesting information on the DK Vine forum about the German Player's Guide and website?
Yeah. So, thing is, I don't actually speak German, so...
Okay. Well, let's start with, I think, the most fascinating thing, and I think you don't need to speak German for it. I think it transcends language. It's not a babblefish, it's an anglerfish, or maybe a tadpole. Glimmer and glower. So this kind of... It's a bit of an enigma, but I think I figured out what may have happened. So, for those of you who don't know, in Donkey Kong 64, when you go into the Gloomy Galleon, the actual Gloomy Galleon in the world, Gloomy Galleon, it's so dark that you can't see anything until it's not a fish, it's actually a tadpole, swims out and lights your way because he's got a strap-on headlamp on his head. And it's actually just like Glimmer in Donkey Kong Country 2's Glimmer's Galleon in Crim Key, not Quay, Crim Key. So we've named this tadpole Glower since 1999. We've called him Glower. But the question has always been, why wouldn't the DK64 team just use Glimmer? I mean, it seemed so stupid and so, like, it almost felt like later on what the Jungle Beat team did would just, like, purposely ignore pre-existing characters and using characters that serve the exact same function or something nearly identical just to satisfy their own urges of creating their own character, when the original would have sufficed just fine. Well, in the German Donkey Kong 64 Player's Guide, there is a render of Glimmer on the Animal Buddies page. You got Rambi, you got Ingard, you got Squawks, and you've got Glimmer. But the thing is, this is not the traditional render of Glimmer as seen from Donkey Kong Country 2. And Glimmer also appeared on the box art of Donkey Kong Land 2, even though he didn't actually appear in the game Donkey Kong Land 2. And this is actually a weird hybrid between anglerfish and tadpole. So the front of it basically looks like Glimmer. It's got the basic head shape of Glimmer, except instead of having the dangling light, the bioluminescent light that hangs from the, whatever you call it, that hangs from an anglerfish, the light is just embedded in his forehead. And then his backside looks basically like a tadpole's backside. And I've looked at the backside of a tadpole over the years. Lonely nights in the pond, if you know what I mean.
Tadpoles are just like, you're basically kids. It's like a child frog.
Look, I've gone through
bestiality's okay, but I draw the line at pedophilia.
You're right, and I've gone through the whole paranoia of buying Skylanders in Toys R Us and worried that I was going to be like pegged to some sort of creep. But now all the Toys R Us's are closing down. And I feel like that part of my life has closed. That chapter has come to an end. And I look back on it with fond nostalgia. So maybe I want to relive that part of my life, David. Maybe I want to have some inappropriate dalliances in the pond with some baby frogs. I don't know. I'm not my own shrink. I don't have a shrink right now. So I don't know. I'm just free balling, free association on the conversation. All that being said, though, Glimmer. So thinking about it, talking a little bit about it too with the DK Vine staff, Jeff Onen in particular, he said that he doesn't think that they could get the dangling light to work in 3D on a 3D model, and maybe that's why they initially changed Glimmer's design into this weird tadpole anglerfish hybrid. And then I was thinking, well, okay, I'm sure if they did do that, then somebody, either higher up or somebody on the team said, Glimmer makes sense as an anglerfish. We can't just outright change his species, especially when his head still looks like an anglerfish. Ignoring the fact that male anglerfish do not have the bioluminescence, and that's just an aspect of female anglerfish. I've already established in my Facebook feature, the Bestiarary, that the Glimmer belongs to a mostly unknown subspecies of anglerfish, indigenous to the rare archipelago, that has bioluminescence. So, there you go. But, yeah, somebody said, hey, we shouldn't just outright change Glimmer's species. And sometime late in development, and it must have been relatively late, like one of the last things they did, because Germany, Nintendo of Europe already had this render and this information that it was Glimmer. They changed it to a new tadpole character, unnamed except by us, Glower. And I think that's what happened. It's kind of like a much, much smaller version of what happened with Diddy Kong's creation, where we're radically changed the design, changed the species, and Nintendo said, you can't fucking do that. Either change him back or make him a new character. And they were too fond of it, so they made him a new character. So I think that's what happened with Glimmer and Glower, but it does say that the team would have tried to make him Glimmer. They just couldn't make it work.
It could just be two characters called Glimmer. Much like
David.
there are multiple people in the world called David Lynch.
Yeah, but there's David Lynch and there's David Thomas Lynch. And this wasn't Glimmer Thomas Glimmer or Glim Thomas Murr. Is Glimmer. And besides, I think the Kongs are the ones who name the animal buddies. So I don't think they would have just named... Like, what? Did Glimmer die and they just named him Glimmer 2?
Well, yeah, that's why he wasn't in Donkey Kong Land 2.
No, I think... knowing what little I know about the way this would have worked, and knowing that we don't know a lot about Donkey Kong 64's early development, in that, like, there was this whole earlier iteration that, tried to replicate Donkey Kong Country's general style, but in a 3D space, more like a Crash Bandicoot Donkey Kong 64 than the Banjo-Kazooie knockoff we got with the final game. I think there's so much we don't know about Donkey Kong 64, and I think this is just a small glimpse into that. And it does solve the riddle of why they didn't just go with Glimmer, the genuine article. And they did change the design, David. You have to admit, they did change the design. The render in this player's guide looks nothing like the actual character model in the game.
Yes. It's like purple and still has like the face of the anglerfish. So yeah. Yeah.
And there's no explanation for what the headlamp is, what the light is, where in the final model they actually show it strapped on. It's like I keep saying strap on, and I realize I'm turning on the portion of our audience that goes for tadpoles, and I shouldn't be doing that because it is quite illegal. Is it? No, it's not. I mean, even if they are underage, I'm pretty sure there are no bestiality laws against getting your rocks off in a pond. Is there? I mean, yeah, there would be, because that would be still like indecent exposure. What sent Bumper away for many years. We really need a lawyer on staff to help us.
I think it's legal in like
it.
4 states, I think.
Well, yeah, that is true. I did look that up when I made the TT in Sea of Thieves video on our YouTube channel. I had to look up which states bestiality was legal in the U.S. Surprisingly, Hawaii, it's legal in Hawaii. Surprisingly, the District of Columbia too. So I don't know what our congressmen are getting up to, but that's I mean, that's why they fight so hard to get elected. Is because they want to get into the confines of Washington D.C. so they can go at it with some baby frogs. I'm assuming. So that being said, Critter brought up he was surprised that they would have tried to have Glimmer in the game, because he thought, as we've often said, that they had a mandate or this self-imposed limitation that only characters from the original Donkey Kong Country would appear. Well, they clearly broke that. If that ever did exist.
It's even true, like, because like sometimes these things like go around like a game of telephone, like.
They do.
Yeah.
I recall it from Scribes, but we've never been able to find it. So it might have just been when I licked a toad. When I tried to move up from Tadpole, and I
hope that's legal
instead.
in Virginia.
I don't know, but I mean, clearly they broke the rule with Wrinkly. They broke the rule with some DKC2 baddies. So yeah, I think they would have broken it with Glimmer, since he was the obvious choice. Now, can we consider any of the stuff on the German website for Donkey Kong 64 canon or not?
Okay, I just looked it up. It's a felony in Virginia, but in West Virginia, it's fine. So,
what? Having sex with tadpoles?
Or bestiality in general, which I presume extends to tadpoles.
Okay. I think tadpole is like such a gray area, because it's an area that you want to make gray, or at least off-white in the pond, because they're basically like insects, and we can eat insects, and that's not against the law, right? So okay, look, David, all I'm saying is, in 30 years, we're going to have to start having sex with tadpoles. If we want our species to survive, we need to start eating insects, and we need to start having sex with tadpoles. I'm just thinking about the future here. I'm going to say, here's my take on whether we can consider ancillary material like German websites canon. Broadly, no, but on a smaller basis, sort of. So, an example I brought up on the forum, actually I think I responded to one of your posts on this. I brought up Swanky Kong's biographical information in the December 1995 issue of Nintendo Power. So in that issue, they had Donkey Kong Country 2 trading cards in the back. I think they had like 8 different cards that you could like tear out of the magazine. And I don't know how they're trading cards when they give you every single trading card in the magazine.
Well, if you want 2 of Swanky Kong, and you have to trade with...
I'll trade you my Donkey Kong for your Swanky Kong because I want 2 Swanky Kongs. I could see that. Okay, fair point. So in that's where I basically got this whole impression that Swanky Kong was this wannabe Lothario, that he was obsessed with the 70s, that he liked polyester and disco. Like that, none of that stuff is from the game, really. That's all from this biographical information in Nintendo Power. So we can't say it is canon, but it definitely informed my initial impression. Before I even played Donkey Kong Country 2, I got this magazine the Friday before DKC2 came out, which I believe I got it that Tuesday or Wednesday. So, I mean, that basically told me who Swanky Kong was before I played the game. So, it's not hard canon, but I don't think there's any harm in taking stuff that's not from Rare or not directly in like instruction manuals or especially in game and using that to color your own ideas on the character. I wouldn't like be editing any fan wikis with this information, but there's no harm in saying, yeah, this helps inform my take on a character. So you seemed really taken with Tiny wanting to be basically a model who looked like Candy Kong. For me personally, Tiny wanting to be a model doesn't really fit her character. Neither does Tiny being an accountant or a tax official, which came from another website.
That is canon.
I mean, it is tax season, David, so I do think about Tiny Kong quite a bit as
long as it doesn't contradict anything in the game itself. Like, there's a certain like hierarchy of canon.
Yeah. Every time I put off logging into TurboTax, I'm thinking, I can just feel Tiny Kong breathing down the back of my neck. No, but I mean, I think Tiny like is this wannabe. In the late 90s, like 70s culture was big again, and I know the Flower Children were more of a 60s thing, but that general like mindset and like fashion sense was definitely back in vogue in the late 90s as well. So I always got the impression that Tiny was basically a wannabe hippie, and I mean based on her wardrobe. So I don't know if wanting to be this buxom Marilyn Monroe type really fit who Tiny Kong was. But you know what? That's just my understanding of the character. There's not really much fleshed out about her in game, so there's no harm if that's what you want to take, and if that makes you enjoy the character and this world all the more, then don't disregard it. Like, embrace it. That's my take. Like, I am not the end all be all of canon or even fanon. I just take it more seriously than most of the population. So do what you want to do with it, man. Go crazy. As far as the emblem idea, that's pretty cool. I never considered that. And it is true that Donkey Kong did not have that emblem on his tie in the SNES trilogy. He didn't get it until, actually it was Mario Party that it first appeared on his in-game character model. So I don't know if like he had to earn it or anything, or if he just wanted to change his tie style. But yeah, I mean it is canon that Cranky also wore a DK tie at one point. So it's a possibility. I'm not gonna say no to that. I like the B thing. That's just gonna be something that I will have to sit with for a while and kind of mull over, see whether I personally embrace it as part of my fanon. But David, what do you think?
Well, like maybe the emblem didn't appear in the second game because he couldn't fit that much on a 16-bit sprite.
Well, yeah, there
which is why
that,
I did.
Yeah.
He still has his blank hat and shirt.
Yeah. And of course, then when they went to the N64, they got so carried away with getting to put the emblem on the model, they also put it on reverse on the backside for some reason until the GameCube era when they got rid of that. But yeah, if you look at the tie, the backside of the tie on I think every N64, I don't know if you can see it in every N64 appearance, if it's like readily visible, but when it is readily visible, you will see a backwards DK on his tie.
I think maybe it was like on the N64, it was just easier to like repeat the texture backwards.
Well, there is
something.
that.
I don't know.
It's not as funny just to imagine them just like getting really giddy over the fact that they could finally do it and then just like slapping it everywhere they could. All right. Thank you for the calls, Critter. Please call again. Please be a third-time caller and a fourth-time caller, etc., etc., etc. All right, let's take our next call.
Hey, y'all. This is Swanky Mamanky again. Last time I called in, I rambled for quite a while, so I've made this as concise as possible and thought it out beforehand. So, what I have to say is, when are we going to get a character witness for Tip Top? Because I think there's a lot to be explored there, what with his career flip from Dale Earnhardt to John Williams, and him living inside another larger turtle for some fucked up reason with a bunch of choir boys, and the constant size changing that he does, really bothers me. Unless, conjecture, was he pregnant inside Tank Top? And is that why he was all swole up? Because that's a theory. A stupid one. But, because that's a long time to be pregnant. So, do turtle pregnancies generally last 2 years in archipelago? Because, in that case, I did the math there. If he's got 20 kids, that makes him at least 40. And that's if he got pregnant as a newborn. So, anyway, I like Tip Top, so talk about him and his burgeoning sexuality.
I didn't think this episode would be primarily about swamp sex, but here we are. Thank you for the call, Swanky Mamanky. Tip Top, he might be a good candidate for a character witness. The character witness episodes usually have to have a long history and enough varied change that it makes it interesting to talk about their biographical information. I think Tip Top is right on the borderline of that, in that he was a big deal initially, and then he just kind of stopped appearing after a certain point. I think his last actual appearance was Diddy Kong Racing DS, and his last appearance in a Banjo game was Banjo Pilot as just a cameo. He couldn't even get in a racing slot in that game. The Banjo Racer, that's obviously inspired by Diddy Kong Racing, in that it used to be a Diddy Kong Racing game called Diddy Kong Pilot. I don't think Tip Top himself was pregnant, Swanky Mamanky. I think Tip Top is a male, and I
don't know how turtle anatomy works.
I'm pretty sure turtle anatomy works fairly similar to other creatures' anatomy, in that the male doesn't get pregnant. I think Tip Top has a lady. Maybe he has multiple ladies, and that's how he got so many kids in such a short amount of time. I know there is a theory that the choir boys are his children, but I think they're too old to be Tip Top's kids, given what little understanding we have of the Tip Top character. I think you mentioned Dale Earnhardt to John Williams. I think Tip Top was never really comfortable as a racer. He was always the nervous type in Diddy Kong Racing. And I think at his heart, he was always a sensitive soul. He was always a conductor. He always had music in his heart. He just wanted to dance. And his father never let him. His father who spooged incessantly in the Tip Top suite. The master of the money shop, Tip Top Sr. I think a Tip Top character witness would be a treat for all. And we might have to put that in the to-do pile. So, yeah, I don't think I want to say anything more about Tip Top, because we need to save it for the eventual Tip Top character witness. David, would you want to be on the Tip Top character?
I don't know, maybe if nobody else could be bothered.
Okay, yeah, and then a snowstorm will conveniently knock out your power. I'll be like, it'll be like the dead of summer, and I'll be like, David, do you want to do the Tip Top? Oh, freak snowstorm, I'm sorry. I'm like, damn it, David. Those Colombian cartels have to stop sneezing. I don't know. Cocaine?
I was thinking maybe climate change. pretty much destroying the
that
seasons.
too, because of the bees, and why you need to start eating stink bugs. That's right. I should have brought it back to that. All right, I better take the next call because I'm clearly losing steam if I can't make those connections. So, all right, let's do it.
Hey, Hyle and manservant, 5th time caller here, and the most normal strange person that I know of. My brain works in a weird way, and I like to categorize everything into trilogies. I think it's growing up a huge Star Wars fan and a Donkey Kong Country fan. The Country trilogy is a perfect trilogy, and I've been noticing the entire DKU is cut into perfect trilogies. In fact, as a 90s kid, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Back to the Future, even the Alien movies were all perfect trilogies. Up until the 4th one of all of them. So, the question, if you parallel the Star Wars movies with the Donkey Kong universe, then what movie would align itself with which game? Before you even get started on discussing it, I think the most obvious thing is that the Donkey Kong Country trilogy is the original trilogy. New Hope, Empire, and Jedi, of course. My next inkling is that there aren't things that are officially canon in the DKU, but did happen, such as the original Donkey Kong arcade trilogy, which includes, Donkey Kong Jr. Math. So it's 4 games in the original arcade trilogy, and I believe that these 4 games make up, or could possibly be, compared to the not canon Star Wars universe movies, such as the Star Wars Holiday Special, the Ewok Battle for Endor, and of course, Ewok Caravan of Courage. And I need one more movie to make up Junior Math, so I'll say the droid animated TV movie, The Great Heat. But between the Payone trilogy, the Star Fox Adventure trilogy, the Land trilogy, the DKU has more trilogies than the Star Wars universe. So what movie aligns with what game?
Here we go again, talking about Star Wars. First of all, you said until they made a 4th one of all of them, there was a 4th Back to the Future movie? I know there was the animated series.
Yeah, and then there was also like a video game a while back.
Well, there's there wasn't there like a Telltale Back to the Future?
Yeah,
but then
that's the one.
There was also the NES game, which was shit.
Back to the Future: The Ride at Universal Studios.
Back to the Future: The Ride, right? Which I think Back to the Future: The Ride and maybe the animated series, they're like quasi-canon in that they're not officially recognized. But considering Christopher Lloyd played Doc Brown in all of those, it's you kind of have to just like say, "Oh, okay, maybe." Anyway, yeah, sorry. As a kid, I always wanted a 4th Back to the Future movie before I aged, and I realized that would be a terrible, terrible thing that would ruin the trilogy, which is like one of those, like, in my opinion, it's one of those like perfect trilogies, even though 2 and 3 were ideas that came about later, but whatever. But I always thought like, oh, what if they went back to dinosaur times? Yeah, because there's nothing you could do with that. Oh, they run from a T-Rex. Oh, isn't that exciting? Which they actually did in Back to the Future: The Ride. Like, they incorporated a T-Rex, and that's it. Like, because there's only like 20 seconds of stuff you can do with that. I can't wait for Jurassic World: The Lost Kingdom. That looks like the surefire winner of the summer blockbuster season. Oh.
And there was Lego Dimensions where you could use like the DeLorean to go back to certain points.
Yeah, no. I think well, I don't know. I think like Back to the Future is one of those movies they better never touch again, and I include a reboot with that. Even though like you could make the argument that that's something they could reboot because now it would be like, what if somebody from the mid 2010s goes back to the 80s? That would be the same concept as the original, but different. Okay, but just can't we just leave things well enough alone? Like,
yeah, we don't. Yeah, I'm getting tired of like everything being a reboot these days, and just let things stand as they are.
Luckily reboots are kind of on their way out, and now we have
the rebooting reboot.
Well, now we have the soft reboot, the reboot that takes place within the canon and continuity of the series,
much like Donkey Kong Country Returns and Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Exactly. Segue. So, yeah, I don't know if I can correspond like all the Donkey Kong universe games to like the Star Wars trilogies, but obviously if we're going to go with the newer movies, Donkey Kong Country Returns is The Force Awakens because it's Donkey Kong Country remade, but still a sequel. And Tropical Freeze, in my opinion, would be The Last Jedi in that it does follow similar beats, but it does its own thing, and I think it's all the better for it. Yes, I am a Last Jedi fan. Come at me, people. I don't care. It's a great movie, in my opinion. You can hate it if you want, but you're wrong. And I don't know. I don't.
Remember, didn't you make some posts like ages ago where like comparing the original Donkey Kong countries to the original Star Wars movies?
Oh yeah, and then Nick and I did a Star Wars special at the end of season 4 where we went over like all of this. So this is not new territory.
Yeah, whatever. I don't listen to the show.
I know you don't. That's fine. I don't listen to it either.
It's way too long.
It is. It's long and it's cumbersome, and quite frankly, it's ridiculous that grown men can talk this long about complete and utter nonsense. Rogue One, though, I don't know what would be Rogue One. Like, I don't think like it's completely like there are one-to-one comparisons to make. And like then you look at like the Banjo-Kazooie games, and you're like, well, okay, Banjo-Kazooie is A New Hope, but then Banjo-Tooie would be Empire Strikes Back. But then what is nuts and bolts and
maybe
what's Grunny's
I don't know.
Revenge?
Is Donkey Kong 3 Solo a Star Wars story from the arcade?
What's that?
Like maybe I don't know. Donkey Kong Jr. is Solo a Star Wars story? Let's just say I don't know.
Yeah. See, it doesn't really work, especially when you and like.
Wait. The arcade games are the prequel trilogies because they suck.
Well, no. I mean, oh Jesus Christ! Meanwhile, a DK girder, there are things being thrown into
They're
the
fine.
wall right now.
The arcade games are fine.
No, I mean we've brought up like the whole comparison, not in a timeline sense, but that the buyout era can correspond to the prequels.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Beat
Yeah.
and whatnot, but,
Donkey Konga and yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's
like
pretty much
fake
perfect.
Hoobastank is Jar Jar Binks.
I think it's pretty much perfect saying that the original trilogy corresponds with the original Country trilogy because it does. Right down to Donkey Kong Country 3 being a little cuter and cuddlier and being full of a whole clan of furry teddy bear type creatures. I love Return of the Jedi.
Returns of Force Awakens are like kind of like a return to form, even though it's maybe a little too much like the original, but it's still
a little bit too derivative, yeah.
But,
and then
still good. Yeah.
You know, it is amazing they got Cranky Kong back for it. You know, he did agree to be killed off in it, but, you know, that's the price you have to pay to get him back. It's a shame that, you know, Dixie Kong, you know, went into cardiac arrest after Tropical Freeze, and she doesn't get to complete the trilogy, but her memory will live on. It would have been better if Wrinkly Kong was still alive, because then we can make a joke about Wrinkly Kong being Leia. Yeah, okay. Thank you for the call, 5th time caller, who still refuses to give us a name. All right, we're nearing the end. We're nearing the bottom of the sack, but we still have a few more calls to take. How's your energy levels, David? Do you need some of that cocaine?
I'm gonna go pee. You could just take this next call. I'm sure nothing interesting could possibly come of this.
Okay, this next call is only 38 seconds, so can you pee in 38 seconds?
Okay.
Let's go.
Good day, Hyle.
Donkey Kong 2 here. So, I hear they're introducing bongos to the Nintendo Switch. Oh, you're fucked. Alright, I'll see you tonight, babe. Bye-bye.
So, what did I miss?
So, Scrap69, everybody, a moderator on the DK Vine forum. Never been a better time to join. There you go. Next call.
Happy Daylight Savings Day. This is a last-minute call, so I could be in this episode of the call sack of the Kongversation. So, with that said, I want to talk about something that's been bugging me for a while, and I'm sure we can all relate. So, Banjo-Kazooie has shown up in Minecraft for Switch. You know what I mean? Right? So, let's say they make it Banjo 4E. Because it would be 4E, because first of all, it's 3E, unless you're an idiot. Okay? You need to understand that. So Crash Bandicoot is coming to Nintendo Switch. So that's perfect. I know it's not Sony, technically it's Activision, but you know what I mean. I think that's perfect, because, hear me out, okay? So, Microsoft could release Banjo-Kazooie on Xbox and Switch. Could be a lot of money. So, I don't think Rare's going to develop Epic Sumo Digital, you know what I mean? But, because Rare's working on CFDs, they'll be working on CFDs for a while, so it's 1 million players, which is a lot. Alright, you know what I mean? Okay? So, anyway, I guess my question is, unrelated to this, but I want to just note something else. I'm saving my Smash Brothers stuff for your Smash Brothers episode, but I want to. Okay, it's a secret, but I'm not saving this for Smash Brothers episode because I need to tell you that this is a secret project of mine, okay? I'm trying to get it funded. So if you know anyone who could fund a big budget movie, please, because I need, or at least enough for an indie movie. Okay? I'm working on it. But, I'm an all-star director, okay? But, I'm working on the plans for a Masahiro Sakurai biopic. I need to get the rights from him, yes, but I think it would be genius because his whole life has been crazy. And we could put the Stampa Brothers in it somewhere too, Grand Kirk, because, you know, it's part of Nintendo. It could be the it's not Sakurai did that, but, you know, it's still in the background of what's going on. So, just let me know if you know anyone who could fund this, okay? I have credentials. I could go to Kickstarter. Okay, Hyle, I forgot to mention one more thing, okay? This is technically Smash related, but it's not Smash 5 related. It's Smash Brawl related. So, you remember in the Subspace Emissary, Donkey Kong had a pretty cool story, right? I just want to know what your thoughts are on the Subspace Emissary and Donkey Kong's, you know, appearances on that, because it was pretty cool. But it's not my point. I have another question related to that, and I think it's going to shock you. You will be shocked, but just seeing in that Subspace Emissary, the first thing actually at Donkey Kong, when I'm eating spaghetti, by the way, when Donkey Kong had his banana horde stolen by Bowser's minions, so Donkey Kong leaps out, starts smashing shit at things. And there's a scene where Donkey Kong just punches a Koopa and just like slams his fist on it. I'm just wondering if you consider Donkey Kong to be a very violent individual in that game, because he's not happy-go-lucky surfer dude. No, not surfer dude, but cool dude like he is in 64. He's pretty scary. He's like, they missed my horde. It's so weird because in that game, Sakurai gave Donkey Kong a really, really cool personality, like, and Diddy too. It was so serious. Like, do you know what I'm talking about, right? Space Emissary, Donkey Kong cutscenes. It's like, the first, like, few cutscenes are literally a DKC game, just like, way more realistic. Even more realistic than, Retro. So that makes me think, if he would make a DKC game, but if he would he go with that grim, dark style? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's so dark when you think about it. It's crazy. Just hope you remember know what I'm talking about. Because it's so crazy.
How was the spaghetti you were eating? That's really what I want to know about. Like, you mentioned you were eating spaghetti and you didn't speak to the quality of the spaghetti. What sauce were you using? How much sauce? Because for me, how much sauce informs how good the spaghetti is. I don't like a lot of sauce in my spaghetti, Mamechi. I don't. I like a little bit of sauce, enough where I can enjoy the noodles, and I like some Parmesan cheese sprinkled on top. Now, I know I'm lactose intolerant, and I know I shouldn't indulge in the Parmesan cheese, but for me, it's so processed and dried that it doesn't really upset me. At least I don't think it does. I really should put it to the test.
Yeah, I don't really do cheese on my spaghetti. Just sauce is sufficient.
See, but I don't have any, like, meat in my sauce. It's not like... It's just tomato sauce with, like, some seasoning. So, for me, like, I need the cheese to really, like, balance it out. Sometimes I will use, like, the Morningstar or Gardein, like, meat crumbles, which, it's good in spaghetti, but it's not really, something I indulge in too often, because it can taste kind of overly chewy because it's not real meat, so it's made of soy. And sometimes the texture is just slightly off to the point where you're like, why am I doing this to myself when I don't even like the taste of meat?
Why do they call it meat? Why do they call it, like, meat if the whole point of it is that you're not eating an animal?
Because initially when you first become a vegetarian, you go for the meat substitutes to help wean you off, and then you just get used to eating the meat substitutes. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I hope this answered your call, Mamechi. No, I'm not going to do that to you again. No. Yeah, Space Emissary, Donkey Kong. It was honestly, I think, the best portrayal of Donkey and Diddy during that whole era of gaming. Like, that was spot on. That was quintessential. That was our Donkey Kong at a time when we were worried about our Donkey Kong and the betrayal of Donkey Kong. Because Jungle Beat kind of betrayed him as this out-of-control maniac. So to have him and Diddy kind of being such an effective tag team duo, and also, like, they were violent, but they were violent for a reason, because they just had the Banana Horde stolen again.
Also, it's Smash Brothers, which is an inherently violent game.
Well, there's that too. But yeah, I mean, Donkey Kong does get violent when he or his family or his home are threatened. Otherwise, he's not proactively violent, which is how Jungle Beat portrayed him. And I've done my fair share of fan wanking that to the point where I feel comfortable enough with that portrayal, or I can delude myself, but the developer intention of that was Donkey Kong is a fucking maniac who refers to himself as the King of Kings because he thinks he's Jesus. And to be fair, I would be okay with that if he was, but where were we? Would the German Donkey Kong 64 player's guide then be the Bible? Or would that be like the Apocrypha? Would that glimmered tadpole be like the.
I guess it would be like the New Testament or whatever, and I don't know.
Well, no, I was thinking like Glimmer Tadpole would be the.
I kind of forgot that Jesus is what brought this whole thing on.
The banned books of the Bible, the
yeah.
Anyway,
so
like the book of Mary Magdalene, and okay, yeah. Anyway,
so yeah, Banjo and Minecraft on the Switch. It's weird.
Well, I mean, but that wasn't that the case with Minecraft for the Wii U too. Like, this isn't new territory. It's just cool to have weird Banjo.
Like the PlayStation version came out before Microsoft bought them, and so
yeah. And I think Microsoft has an interest in keeping Minecraft basically equal on all platforms. I don't think that means they're ever going to put Banjo-Kazooie or Tooie on a Nintendo platform. The only time I could see them actually going for it would be the N64 Mini, maybe, but even that is a stretch, and with Rare Replay being a thing they are actively selling, I don't really see that as ever being a possibility. They want the Banjo games to be a draw for the Xbox platform. I think Phil Spencer is willing to work with Nintendo and would like to, I could see Diddy Kong Racing, the original Diddy Kong Racing, appearing again and stuff like that. Banjo, the character, appearing where applicable, but the games themselves, Kazooie and Tooie, I don't think we're ever going to see on a Nintendo platform ever again. I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past. And I've been wrong many times this episode. So it's fine.
So yes, Crash Bandicoot, who I believe was also mentioned in the call, but I've already forgotten.
I got hung up on the whole spaghetti thing. I got to be honest, because I was like, why is he smacking his lips so much? And then he mentioned the spaghetti, and then I'm like, well, I could go for some spaghetti right now. Quite honestly, I kind of want some spaghetti now. You got me on spaghetti, Mamechi. This is your fault that I'm not answering your questions appropriately. Next time, put the spaghetti aside when you're making the call. Don't bring it up, because we've been doing this for over 2 hours now. I'm starving. All I've had during this episode is an Angry Orchard. And you might be saying, but Hyle, that's got apples in it. It's apple cider. It's not... I'm not getting any nutrients from it. It's not like I bit into a juicy, crispy apple.
Okay,
I'm just drinking
so
alcohol.
I'm looking on Wikipedia. Apparently, Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex was the first one on the GameCube on a Nintendo platform.
So it's not that weird even for Crash Bandicoot to appear. Yeah. Mamechi, I'm sure we'll hear from you on the Smash Brothers episode, because I know you are delighted about all of this Smash on Switch business, because I know you are the #1 Smash Brothers fan. I know how much you love and appreciate it. I know how Sakurai fulfilled your every desire for Smash Brothers last time around, and there's nowhere to go now but even further up, because you and him, you're synced. You're compatible. You are you're one mind in two bodies. So I look forward to hearing all of your glowing praise and your glimmering praise for Smash Brothers on the next episode. David, we have 2 more calls to take. We're getting close to the finish line here. We can cross the finish line, and we can start a boys' choir inside of a turtle. I can't wait. Let's do it.
Hey, Hyle, and whoever else is on tonight. This is Justin, a.k.a. Josuke's hair, on the forum and Twitter. I know that the majority of the calls tonight will probably be Smash-focused, so I just wanted to bring up a different topic. So Nintendo announced a Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story remake, and that's probably one of my favorite games of all time. Ever since the first Mario & Luigi game came out, I've, fantasized about a Donkey Kong Mario & Luigi crossover. So my question is, what would you like to see, or how would you personally handle a Donkey Kong Mario & Luigi RPG crossover? Oh, and one more thing before I go. I'm just going to shamelessly plug my out-of-context Twitter. So I'm pretty sure that scouring old Kongversation and Pod DK Cast and Donkey Kong Vine audio program, episodes for quotes has probably driven me insane by this point. Anyway, thank you for your time. Bye.
Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a celebrity calling in. The person who runs Out of Context on Twitter, who they take Kongversation quotes out of context and put them on Twitter for the world to see. It's shocking to see some of the stuff that I say, and David, I'm sure you'll have a similar reaction as well. All of the heinous things that have come out of your mouth this episode, to see it in stark black and white will just be sobering. Mario and Luigi RPG, but with it as a Donkey Kong crossover. Have you ever thought about this, David?
No, but it actually seems like perfect because it has like that similar kind of like tag team system where it's like you play as both Mario and Luigi, and like
right,
you have separate jump buttons, but I don't know. So I've only played the first game in that series, so
yeah, it's like all of the Mario RPGs. The sense I get from it is that people have been growing more and more dissatisfied with it as it's gone on. Maybe that's not the case with Mario and Luigi. I know Paper Mario definitely. Well, it's not even an RPG anymore, and then they have the weird crossover game. And anyway, yeah, I've thought about this, and maybe not so much in the context of the Mario and Luigi series crossing over Donkey Kong, but just a Mario and Donkey Kong crossover done right. And I'm not including the Mario versus Donkey Kong series in that, because that is a Mario and Donkey Kong crossover done wrong. Come at me, DK Girder. Come at me. It's the problem with Mario versus Donkey Kong is it's a Mario game that Donkey Kong also appears in, but there's no real Donkey Kong elements in it to justify the title.
Yeah,
Mario
like if it was like
Donkey Kong.
replace Donkey Kong with like Bowser kidnapping Peach, then it would just be a Mario game.
Exactly.
At least the sequels.
It's cheap, and I mean they bring in Pauline, and it's more of an arcade continuation. But even then, they get away from the arcade gameplay, and it's a Lemmings clone. And again, come at me, DK Girder. I'm ready for you. But I think, an RPG would be a good way to do it. The only problem is I don't really trust anybody to get in the Donkey Kong lore right. Especially true to Rare's vision. Ideally, the way I would want to do it would be Donkey and Diddy teaming up with Mario and Luigi, and having Cranky Kong there as kind of this side, like, devil on your shoulder who is just so opposed to you teaming up with Mario and Luigi. Like, I want to play up the whole generational aspect, that Cranky is the original Donkey Kong, and he is outraged that you, or not you, not the It's Mr. Pants character, but he's outraged that the character you're controlling, the modern Donkey Kong, is forgetting the animosity between Kong and the Mario family. And you could have a lot of fun with that and bring in so much of the history since then of them becoming frenemies, and then outright friends, and then enemies again, and then mostly friends, and then just friends who like to play fight. And you could bring in K. Rool and Bowser, Kremlings and Koopas, stuff Nintendo will never do, or at least will never do until like the current regime has long since retired, and the new breed has fully taken the reins at Nintendo. The people who like to hide K. Rool street signs in Super Mario Odyssey. And I think Nintendo is changing for the better. And I think they're going to be more willing to embrace Donkey Kong, especially the rare creations of Donkey Kong, misspelled Rattleys and all. But I think we're still a ways off before we can see the dream Mario and Donkey Kong crossover. But, I mean, it pretty much writes itself. I think any fan of one property who at least has enough working knowledge of the other would be able to dream up an acceptable scenario. So, we're going to see it happen one day. I just hope I'm alive to see it. But I also don't think it's going to be anytime soon, because I also think they're trying to distance Donkey Kong a little bit from Mario, again, to build it up itself. And then when they're more their own thing, and obviously not equal standing, because Donkey Kong's never going to be equal standing with Mario, as much as I would like to pretend otherwise. Then you'll see it. It'll happen someday. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Last call. This episode has been going on long enough. Maybe we'll get to the point where we'll see it by the end of the episode. I think the bees are pretty much extinct at this point. So let's hear what the final call has to say.
So, that's Smash Thriller, huh? Now, Hyle, I know exactly what you're going to be saying. You're going to be talking about how Smash was once this little quaint novelty thing, and now it's this huge hype wank fest. But one thing that y'all have to understand is that the hype is only as bad as we make it out to be. I'm seeing so many guys on the forum getting they're obviously still salty about the whole ballot situation, and you're kind of doing this to yourself, fellas. It just doesn't make much sense to me, you know? You gotta realize that, even if, say, K-Rool does get included, it's never going to be as glorious as your hype will make you want it to be. For example, I actually really wanted Bayonetta in the game, and obviously we got her, and she ended up being the cheapest motherfucker on the roster. You know, I can't even play with her without feeling like a total tryhard. So you just gotta take this whole thing in stride, you know? You have to stop worrying and learn to love Sakurai's Pig. I don't even know where I'm going with this. It's basically be cautiously optimistic about things, because otherwise it's just too much to worry about, you know? Too much stress over shit that's not really that important. So yeah. Cuburn out!
Oh, thank you for the call, Cuburn. Well, Smash Brothers. Here we are at the end, talking about Smash Brothers.
I kind of agree with that. Like, if you don't want to talk about it, then just don't.
Here's the thing. All right, so I know we here on the Kongversation, we here on DK Vine, the DK Vine staff, we got a little negative about Smash Brothers 4, especially by the end of, by the time the Wii U game came out and the end of the character ballot, and oh my god, it was just, it was a taste of the cynicism and the downtrodden, like, view of the world that DK Vine was notorious for back in the aughts, during the buyout era. And, you know, this was post Tropical Freeze. I mean, you know, the bulk of the Smash stuff came after Tropical Freeze's release. Like the whole news cycle, the hype, all the fake leaks, Sal Romano and his macaroni kitchen. Oh my god, I really want noodles for some reason now. Oh, fuck you, Mamechi. Oh, but all of that, you know, it was still at a time when we didn't know what the future of Rare entailed. And this was like around the Connect Sports Rivals, you know, and Connect Sports Rivals, the best game of its type, but again, as I've often said, it wasn't the kind of game that we really felt like we wanted as Rare fans, as long-term Rare fans. And shortly after all of that happened with Smash 4, the first rumblings of Platonic were heard. Yooka-Laylee hype started up. And then at E3 2015, Rare's whole rebranding, the Rare Renaissance kicked off in full with their new logo, Rare Replay, Sea of Thieves, like this whole new chapter, this new era of the studio kicked off there. And honestly, Smash Brothers isn't that important to me anymore because I have a vital, vibrant, Rare culture again. Rare and platonic, you know. I'm no longer sweating Smash Brothers as much because Smash Brothers is at the same point it was when Melee came out, where, okay, it would be great if we could get some representation for our characters. But you know what? We still have Rare making all these awesome games. We have Platonic, so I don't really give a shit what Sakurai wants to do at this point. I'm not going to let it get me down.
Yeah, like,
and
yeah, if K. Rool gets in the game, great. If not, like, it's just a video game, like, whatever.
Well, again, it's the question we asked ourselves when Smash 4 Wii U, that was Super Smash Brothers for Wii U.
Yes, that was the last one.
That's a abysmal title still. That's the question we asked ourselves. Okay, imagine if K. Rool had gotten in. Would we still enjoy this game? And the answer was no.
Well, the thing is, I do. But,
okay.
I mean, I have problems with it, but, like, I don't know.
That was a discussion Chad and I had,
yeah.
So I wasn't speaking for you.
Yeah, all this negativity, I had nothing to do with it. That was all on you.
Yeah, you were just banning people in the forum then.
Well, I was negative about the negativity, so.
Yeah. No.
I was, like, meta-negative.
I get that. I do. And you can like Smash 4. Like, I'm not holding that against you. For me, it wasn't the Smash experience I was looking for. Like, for me, Melee is still the ideal Smash Brothers. And I like a lot of stuff about Brawl, too. I think Brawl did a lot of things right. It mucked it up a little bit, but it was still a fine game. I think Smash 4 mucked things up way too much. And it would be great in this new Smash Brothers if we had a few stages that weren't either flat pieces of cardboard or indecipherable madhouses. Like, I just want, like, stages that are interesting, that aren't just a flurry of bullshit being flung at my face, like your cocaine storms. Like, I want something that is engaging and fun and captures the spirit of those first two Smash Brothers games without it being, like, just garbage or completely neutered for tournament play. Like, anyway, I feel the negativity rising in me, David. I can feel it, so I apologize.
Like, okay, we got Sea of Thieves coming out next week, and play games you do like rather than.
I'm not gonna let Smash Brothers rain on my parade. Again, this is the most exciting time we have for the Donkey Kong franchise in years. So, like, okay, whatever. Smash Brothers is just going to be a thing that's going to be concurrent with all of this. And I know people want me to, like, advocate for K. Rool and Smash Brothers, Banjo-Kazooie and Smash Brothers, Dixie and Smash Brothers, and I'll do that. I'll do the bare minimum I need to do, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.